Welcome to your Bitcoin merchant tutorial. In this video, we will be going through our payments section, which has invoices, reporting, requests, pull payments, and payouts. Check out our channel for other tutorial videos if you want to learn more. A prerequisite before starting this video would be setting up your Bitcoin on-chain and Lightning wallets. Check out our video on our channel for the Samrock protocol for easy and streamlined deployment using Aqua Wallet. Alternatively, we have other videos on how to set up variations of cold wallets and other Lightning wallets depending on your preference. We can find our payment section on the left-hand side here, and we're going to click on invoices. So invoices are going to be a key feature in managing and tracking invoices, issuing refunds, and one of a few ways to generate invoices for accepting customer payment. Here's a list of invoices with the date, or invoice ID, order ID, status, and amount. Now, if you scroll down here, we can see our latest transaction that was settled, meaning the payment went through successfully to our wallet through our server, and marks it out with a little lightning symbol besides the Bitcoin one, which means this transaction was completed with a Lightning or liquid payment using the Bolts plugin. If this was settled on-chain Bitcoin, then only the Bitcoin symbol would be shown here. So if we scroll down, we'll go to this invoice here, and we can see there is a refund issued on this. And this is where the refund will pop up in the status on your invoices. There is some nuance with using the service for refunds. I will get into that shortly in regards to the features that are available for this. But for now, let's click on the right dropdown to gather more information on our invoice. So here we can see the BTC-LN payment method. Just means this was settled in Lightning or Liquid. The destination, which would represent our Lightning or Liquid wallet, depending on which one you decide to set up. The rate of 1 Bitcoin at the default currency at the time the invoice was settled, and the amount of Bitcoin sent. If you utilize BTC-LN URLs, which we cover their use in the crowdfund and pay button tutorials, that will appear here. For those a little more new to Bitcoin also, this does read in whole Bitcoin. So even though the invoice QR code pages in the store are set up to read in Satoshis, this will still appear as whole Bitcoin. Satoshis are otherwise more commonly known as sats and are comparable to cents, whereas whole Bitcoins would be comparable to dollars. And there are also 100 million Satoshis in 1 Bitcoin. So let's click on the invoice ID for the settled invoice to bring us to the invoice page. So here we can see the store the invoice belongs to, the invoice ID itself, and the order ID. For the order ID, this is information the customer receives to their wallet in their transaction details to help match to their invoice ID. For the expiration date, this would simply be on a settled invoice, the time the invoice was settled. Obviously, this would apply to an expired invoice if it did actually meet that expiry time we set. This also goes the same for the monitoring date in relation to the settled invoice. The redirect URL would be specifically for the point of sale app link that was utilized for this invoice, if there was one used. So obviously, this will only work if you have not deleted the app utilized for the invoice as well. You can see additional amount breakdowns on the right-hand side. And as we scroll down, we can see our invoice summary, and this was just the drop down on the right hand side on our main invoice page. Now, refunds do appear here, and pull payments as well. For this service, this will not be available. Pull payments will still pop up here, but I'll show you how this practically does not work on the current situation. For events, this is just all server-side events, so if you ever encounter an issue and need to bring one forward, you can use this log to help present that to our customer service. Now, we'll quickly go back up, and we're going to quickly talk about issue refunds. For issuing refunds in your invoices, the payment processor section within your store settings drop-down menu is a part of the automation that follows some of the built-in features that allows for your store to issue refunds directly from it. However, This would require activating the use of hot wallets, which means that this server would have to hold your private keys, putting us in a custodial role, and theoretically leaves your private keys at risk. The regulatory and legal implications of this are outside the scope of our services at this point in time. You can still mark down your invoices as refunded, but the system relies on the use of hot wallets to record metadata to mark refunds as paid. There is not a manual way of showing them as paid in the reporting section underneath the refunds tab, which I will show you quickly here. Another note is you cannot currently reverse the refund status on the invoice page here, and it will appear there indefinitely. This is something we are currently working on and are aiming to improve this feature in the future. So if we quickly go back to invoices and we go to reporting, which you can also click down here, it does not matter. And we go to our refunds tab. You can see here two different invoices. So this one down here was settled with a hot wallet. And because it was able to record that metadata, it will give you this green check mark. This one was just manually issued the refund and it will not show with a green check mark. So this will be apparent throughout some of the obviously this refund section, but also your payment section and payouts section. So this all being said, I'll show you a manual way of doing so on an invoice. So we'll go back to invoices and we're just going to select this one here, a settled invoice that is not issued a refund. We'll click on that and we're going to click on issue refund. So we'll click on issue refund. Now we have our payment method. So you have two options here, chain, which is on chain, of course, and lightning. We'll keep it on lightning and hit next. Now we have a few different options on how we want to issue the refund. So you do have the cryptocurrency price when the invoice got paid, the currency price at the current rate, the invoice currency at the rate when the refund will be sent, and the custom specified amount at the rate you want the refund to be sent. So again, we could issue if we want to do half of this or a portion or whatever the case. I do like to do, if you want to be fair, this one, right? But again, this will all be personal preference. And optionally, we have the ability to add a percentage. So if we want to do like 1%, that will deduct it from the refund for, say, mining fees, network fees, or any sort of other fees you want to charge on top of the refund. And then we would go create refund. And now we're going to have a pull payment created. Now, again, because we cannot activate hot wallets, we cannot enter a claim to utilize the payment processor to automatically send this to a customer account and claim it anytime. So what we can do is if you manually issued this payment out of your own wallet, you can go to edit pull payment. And that will bring us to our pull payments section. And specifically the pull payment for this invoice refund we just manually issued. And we can write in a memo, details on the transaction data for that customer refund you manually did. Again, we are working to improve this feature and hopefully we can offer some more automated functionality for you. And so if we go back to pull payments, we can see that invoice here along with our other manual invoice. And this was the hot wallet invoice, the automated one. So again, some UI distinctions. You just won't get this for manually refunding customers. And again, because this feature is not available, the payouts section is somewhat redundant at this point. So we're going to move on to requests now. Here we can send invoices as requests with this section here. This will overlap with email rules, so I will showcase creating an email rule in relation to this. But for more information on email rules, check out our email rules tutorial or our emails tutorial section for more information. So payment requests are for exactly as they sound and are similar to what banks have when requesting money from any individual or entity. It will generate a link with an invoice for an amount you set, or alternatively, you can activate a toggle for custom amounts decided by the receiver on the request. Keep in mind, amounts being settled in the Lightning or Liquid on-chain will be determined by your store settings in the drop-down menu, specifically in the checkout appearance, where we cover in another tutorial video if you want to check that out. So let's begin here by clicking on the Create Request button in the top right corner. So you can title your payment request here, set an amount, choose your currency. You can also toggle to allow the payee to create invoices with custom amounts, like I was saying before. Reference ID, this would be for your tracking purposes, specifically if you wanted to input your own information in here. Moving on, we have labels, which can be created within this field. And alternatively, you can click this settings cog if you wanted to go to that page to manage those. Then you can also set an expiry in this field here. Leave this blank if you do not want an expiry. The email field will be specifically for the recipient. If you want to include yourself in the notifications, you can do so with the email rule, but we have to set that up first, as we can see here. So to set up that email rule, we're going to click this email rules text here to move to that page. Now we're in the email rules section in our store settings. You can see in the drop down here. Again, if you want to get back to this page, emails, you just click emails to. This is what it looks like. Go to email rules, and that will bring you here. Then we go create email rule in the top right-hand corner. Grab that trigger field, your drop down, and scroll down and grab payment request created. That's what you're going to want. These other ones here, so I'll go into a little bit more detail. So this one here just affects the notifications of the request. So if the request has been edited, that will be the updated. Archiving, if you archived it, it will send a notification. A status change that occurs, and once a request has been completed. And also if a request is then completed as well. So this will be all for your benefit to notify you of any changes. But for now, we're just going to click created. So moving down, we can leave the condition field blank. Here you can send to BCC in the following fields. This checkbox here is for if you want to send the email to the buyer as well. If they provide it in the invoice, they have to provide it. So you can check this off, and I will show you where this is relevant back on the other page. The subject and body fields. So it's important here that you include everything in the curly brackets. Do not modify this, because otherwise the rule will not function. As long as you modify around it, you can add whatever you want to the subject line or body fields. But for now, we're just going to leave this as is, and we click save. Perfect. Now we can see at the bottom that this email rule is created. So that's what we want to see. Again, you can go create email rule, and you can create those other notification rules if you want to add them at the bottom here. But for now, we are going to go back to our request page. Because we didn't actually save that initial request before we went to the email rules, it's not going to appear here. So we'll quickly create that request again. Back here, we can see that this is set up for us now based on the rule we set. We can always go back and modify the email rule to change how that request notifies us and who is notified. Here in this dropdown is where our checkbox in our email rule would be utilized. So by requesting that customer email or receiver's email, you can also connect other forms. And we do cover this in our forms tutorial video in your store settings. That will appear here if those are created as well. Finally, we have the memo field here. So this is where you can put whatever text we want to display on the payment request page. I'll just write down a quick example, and I will quickly fill out the rest of the form so we're ready to create. So I've quickly made up an example here, titled it, give it an amount, let the payee create a custom amount, give it a reference ID, billing. I didn't give it an expiry date. You can always play with this yourself, set it to whatever day you wish. And again, you can use this email section if you want to send notifications to a recipient of any sort. You can do that here. You can also, again, additionally do that in here. I'm not going to for now. This will be the memo information, so you can see this showcased. So I'm going to click save, and that's going to pop up here. So we can see that status is now pending. This is created, and we can click on this title to go back into the form now that we saved it, and we're going to click view. And now by clicking that, we can see that we have the option to pay the invoice, copy the link, payment link up top, print it, and also we can see our memo information. So let's quickly go to pay invoice. So we can see the invoice pops up here. Perfect. We can see the details and all that. So, and you can see here from attempting that status, new, that an invoice was created. So any payment history will pop up here. Again, just because it's new doesn't mean it's settled, so it will also indicate if the invoice is settled from this payment request. So let's go back to the main payment request page. So we're just going to click requests. Perfect. Now we're going to click on the right-hand side. You can see the 3 dots. So you can also go to the invoices associated with this payment request that will all appear here and take you to that. You can go clone the request if you wanted to use it as a template, or alternatively, you can archive and find it in here by clicking this. So let's quickly jump over to the reporting section, which is also accessible through requests. We can click this, or again, you can click on the left side. It does not matter. So here gives us a way of seeing our store organized into tabs at the top here. We can see our invoices, our settled invoices. Expired ones won't pop up here, just so you know. Additionally, we can see data collected in relation to each one of these settled invoices using the slider here. We can use payments. We can see our settled payments. We could see requests. Those requests we made and will also include archived ones. And we can see our sales and any sales in relation to invoices settled. Again, the POS tutorial covers this if you're interested in learning more. So for the payouts, again, this is a redundant feature and not particularly useful. Again, you can see your refunds, and we went over that very quickly. And wallets, don't be too concerned about this one. This one is also a redundant feature as well. And the top right-hand corner, you can export your data. Now, for this, we would regularly recommend you do this, as we do not guarantee its storage in perpetuity, so please keep that in mind. As of right now, some functionality here, as I mentioned before and earlier, in the video is redundant and not available based on our regulatory and legal constraints. We are working on providing more functionality for your convenience, and will update the release of new videos when changes do occur. So that concludes this tutorial for this section. Thank you for watching, and keep stacking sats.